The brief that I had was to write a Gaelic music composition, so music and song inspired by Gaelic culture and music, based on the artworks in the Scottish collection. My first point of call was to find out what were the most kind of Gaelic inspired artworks, and were there any Gaels, that were painters in the collection. And so the obvious choice was William McTaggart, who was a native Gaelic speaker, and luckily I loved his paintings. As a sort of contrast, I guess, to him, another obvious choice was John Duncan, whose work is a big part of the Celtic revival and uses a lot of myths and stories that I'm quite familiar with, having grown up with that sort of Gaelic culture. And I was really interested in his approach as well. And of course, Phoebe Anna Triquare was my other choice, who you can see. I was really struck at first, just visually, by the lyre or the harp in the images, and the leopard print suit, because I have a photo of holding a harp aloft with a leopard print jumpsuit on. So
they were speaking to you
straight away. So those are my three artists that I chose to work with. What really struck me about McTaggart is that he obviously lived that landscape and was so familiar with it, and not just the landscape itself, but the people of the landscape and their culture and their lives. Definitely. And it very much seems to me that he knew those people. Sort of.
Yeah, there's really that familiarity that kind of that can only come from being really a part of that place. And he was he returned there almost every year, and it was a major source of inspiration for his art. And I think, but it's not just the people, but also that environment, and it's how those two things interact. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that really comes across, doesn't it, in the paintings?
Definitely. And do you think that's something that's quite special to Gaelic culture, this kind of relationship between place and people?
For sure, it's certainly a big element of it, and place has always been something very important to me in my work, and I think that's definitely a big theme of this composition, of this work, and mostly down to McTaggart's work, because that's so centred in place. And we actually, myself and my partner went on a kind of field trip to the places that he painted, because I know that he painted some of his work outside, and there's an amazing picture of him painting, isn't there, on the beach?
There is, pinning down the canvas against the westerly winds. So, his dedication to his art.
Yeah, exactly. So we went to Kintyre and Kintyre Peninsula, and we visited Machrihanish Bay. We went to Carradale as well, and we made some recordings of the sea, and I've used that in the work. In Machrihanish Bay, we just held the electric harp aloft, and it actually makes an incredible sound in the wind.
Yeah.
So I really just used the sound that the harp was making itself.
That's amazing, because I think his works are so evocative of the sounds, but to actually have sound created by the space is another layer of that work.